Adventures of Sonic Episode 40, Zoobotnik. At first I read that as Zoobotnik. I hope that's about an interdimensional counterpart. Sonic at first disbelieves the newspaper salesman claiming that people are disappearing in a fantasy universe, and cynically warns Tails that people will say anything to sell newspapers. Sonic gets told about civilians vanishing. He runs away and gets a paper and can't draw an eyewitness sketch because everyone's talking at once. The people in front of him vanish, leaving their clothes and even underwear behind. Yeesh. Why would someone who kidnaps them ever leave behind their clothes? Never mind, I don't want to know. Surprisingly, even Tails gets vanished away when I thought it'd just be the civilians. I guess I should be used to him being kidnapped by now. A civilian panics, runs away, trips on a rope, and gets caught in a net. A redhead lady is revealed to be the one who warped all the civilians to a cage, and she's a one-dimensional cartoon villain who kidnaps them in a spaceship for no reason other than sadism. Coconuts is obnoxious and then tells Robotnik what's been happening as he's bathing in a room other than a proper bathroom for some reason. Let me guess, yep, Robotnik doesn't believe Coconuts about UFOs in a sci-fi fantasy universe. Coconuts tells him about the notorious galactic huntress who is wearing animal skins. Huh. So that's kind of like the hunter that Penders wrote, only galactic and female, wearing animal skins outright, which is actually kind of creepy. I mean, like, if they're from Mobius. And Robotnik believes it this time, because he knows about this huntress already. For years he's wanted to meet the Amazon girl who captures various aliens and shows them off at a zoo. How does he know about her already? Has she visited this planet twice? Sonic calls a press conference to reassure Mobius. Sonic reads the names of the missing citizens too fast to understand, which he should know will defeat the purpose. Why did he even bother reading out all those names? After that filler, he finds a print shop and puts up flyers for Tails. He goes up to the wise old hermit on Mount Mobius, who's supposed to know everything. And yet he doesn't know everything because he insists there's no such thing as a two-tailed fox, being startled by Sonic. You know, I feel like this Sonic searching for Tails unsuccessfully stuff is just padding. Tails calls out for Sonic in the spaceship, which hasn't left Mobius' atmosphere by now for some weird reason, just to give Sonic a fighting chance. He cuts through a mountain and eventually has to stop to avoid running off a cliff, which was a rare moment of tension, so it didn't give him a fighting chance. It was totally pointless. Robotnik actually explains why Catella is still here. She accepted his dinner invitation. Grounder gets given most of the housework by Scratch and he objects to it. Coconut somehow gets stuck to Catella's ship by the binoculars and falls off. Catella pulls a bell and kicks down Robotnik's door. The robots suck up to her for some reason and she's dismissive of them. For no reason, Coconuts gets put in his own trumpet by Catella when he did nothing to deserve it. Honestly, this is sick. Briefly, Catella somehow forms herself into a heart, but fortunately she returns to her normal, not awful look. She plays rough with Robotnik, humiliating him and flirts with him, but she also smirks too. This puts Robotnik off, as she swings him around and throws him into a wall, and asks what she can do to prove her love to him. Predictably, he asks her to capture Sonic. Seriously, why is she into him, other than him being a human? Wouldn't they be from... Isn't she an alien? Or is he an alien, too? It's from the same planet as her. Why? I mean, at least this is a twist. Sonic finds some very obvious fake Tails, and this somehow fools him until he notices that he's spilling out milk when he talks and doesn't have chili dog breath. Sonic plays along and lets himself get captured on purpose to have a chance of reuniting with Tails. Sonic has played some gloating music as the villains dance. Catella asks to marry Robotnik all domineeringly, and he agrees. I guess with his unique background having an abusive mother, it makes sense that this Robotnik would let himself get pushed around by women, but only barely. It's still Robotnik. You'd think he'd brainwash her. Sonic burrows a hole into the ground with a spin dash to let everyone escape. Why can't I do that in the games? You know, the first time Sonic was captured by Robotnik, he was put in a special cell that was made just for him. So Robotnik got dumber over time. Isn't that kind of flanderization? Sonic and Tails show up to Robotnik with disguises out of nowhere to marry the villains to each other. Scratch and Grounder say they always cry at weddings, despite Grounder not knowing what a wedding is. Both times this is forced comedy. Robotnik gets karma to him because this time he's the one whose wedding partner says, of course he does. In a pleasant surprise, Mama Robotnik shows up out of nowhere to fight Catella because she's his mother and she wasn't invited to the wedding. How did she break out of the home? How did she even find out about this at all? Because of plot convenience for Robotnik, Catella calls off the wedding because she doesn't want a mother-in-law like that. Well, why doesn't she just kidnap or kill her if she's evil? And she pulls a trap door which frees everyone. Surprisingly, when Robotnik says it's the truth, Mama Robotnik does believe him and then attacks him because she raised him to always lie. Even to her? Stupidest parent ever. Sonic says he'll miss Mama Robotnik because she makes Robotnik so miserable, and Tails says that Sonic can make him even more miserable. These guys are the definition of sadists. Sure, it's against someone who deserves it, but still.
Because she made Robotnik so miserable.
I think the only thing that makes this Sonic different from Fleetway Sonic is that he's nice to his Tails, and well, he's nice to the civilians too, but he's the second meanest Sonic. The Sonic Says section is about not playing with wild animals because they could hurt you, without the show actually having the guts to actually show the consequences of that, and instead Sonic just tells you about the consequences. So it fails. I thought we'd actually get to see the part where everyone was in a zoo of Catellas, but we didn't even get to that point. She's still unbelievably spiteful and rough with someone she wants to marry, and spent most of the episode tormenting Robotnik, who doesn't proceed to have his robots grab her and brainwash her into obedience with one of the two methods she showed he has, which would have been a reality ensues moment. I wouldn't want her to be talking in monotone or look different while brainwashed though, just to calm it down on making Robotnik of all people look like a total wimp. We're supposed to believe he deserves it for being a thief and a kidnapper, an attempted murderer, but he's not as evil as other Robotniks like the Sadiam one, or I guess it's more like he's not as effective. So this isn't as satisfying. It's not like he roboticized the world. Why would Catella be into him? And it feels cheap that most of the kidnappings happen off-screen, including Tails, who's had the most off-screen kidnappings I've ever seen, in any character ever. It's like they were too lazy to animate it or something. I guess I don't hate the episode, but it wasn't an enjoyable one either. She was off-putting to me with the way she treated Robotnik. She was looking interesting before. It was at least interesting to have an alien threat be a human, and an Amazon woman at that. Oh yeah, and people losing their clothes when they were kidnapped was never explained. Why did she do that just for them to, as far as I remember, still have their clothes when they're seen again? And they're not talking about what happened.